Yes, people, welcome back to the Magpie Channel TV. Last week we had the training ground update. Today I've got a stadium update for you. Yeah, it is that we all know that Amanda Staveley and Mehrdad Guddusi and the owners of Newcastle United want to extend St James's Park. They've diminished any talk of moving to a brand new stadium yet. I do think that will happen down the line, but you're talking at least 10 years. They wouldn't want to do that right now. People will be upset about that. A historic, traditional city with a stadium right in the middle of the city as well. You know, it's all known, it's the heartbeat of the city. It's a famous stadium in world football, St James's Park. So they wouldn't want to do that just yet. They wouldn't want to piss people off yet. Because there is some that would be pissed off. Let us know in the comments, would you be? I'm unsure on it, to be honest. I love St James's Park. When you go there, it's so special. It's the atmosphere, the vibe, the feeling around the place, especially since the takeover, is incredible. There's nothing like it. There's nothing like being inside St James's Park and in and around it on a match day. Or any time really, even when you go on a quiet day, look at it, it's just a beautiful thing. You know, it's an amazing place. But I do like Tottenham Hotspur's new stadium. It's unreal. I do like the new stadium. It's very nice, very fancy, very modern, very big. And Newcastle can only extend this stadium up to 65,000 according to this new article. And this article, the link will be in the description for this article from the Chronicle today. I'm going to read it all out here, the big points of it right now. That's what this video is going to be about, of how Newcastle can extend St James's Park in the short term right now. Christopher Lee, he's the architect that the Chronicle have interviewed here. He's the mastermind behind several grounds across Europe, including the new Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, Emirates Stadium, all sorts. We'll get into that soon. And he's going to tell us how Newcastle can extend St James's Park, because there is obviously a couple of difficulties around that. But back to what I was saying, yeah, obviously I'd love St James's Park. It would be a big shame to move away from it. It's unique in that it's in the city centre, because a lot of away grounds I've been to are in the middle of fucking nowhere, and they're a nightmare to get to, and they're just a dump. Whereas this St James's Park is right in the city centre, 5 minutes off the train, surrounded by bars. But if Newcastle can find a good site for it, like the Metroradio Arena, that's going to get taken down soon, and obviously there's been plans about that, about the new stadium could go there, and we could get like a campus like the Etihad have got, with the training grounds there, the women, the academy, everyone trains in one place. That's the long-term plan from these new owners. They've touched on that last week. I said that in the training ground video. They've made that clear. That's how they want to be long-term. So the stadium and everything is next to it, like the Etihad, like in Manchester City. But for now, they're not going to mess around with anything. They're not going to push the buttons too much. They're not going to try and do too much too soon. It's a shame, because Newcastle could literally sell out St James's Park double every week. It's mental. I mean, the season tickets are going to be like gold dust forever now. Would easily eclipse the 60 to 65,000 that they're on about in this article being the likely short-term result of an expansion at St James's Park. 65,000 still nowhere near enough. It's only an extra, what, 12, 13,000 what we've got now? We should be looking at 80,000. Easy 80,000, honestly. Especially, this is why they probably will have to move to a new stadium in the future, because when it gets to the point of Newcastle hopefully reaching those levels of Manchester City, Liverpool and that, you know, challenging for Premier Leagues, top fours, cups, FA Cups, Europe, it's going to be mental, man. Like, not just in Newcastle, but people from all around the world will be coming to visit Newcastle. It's like, you know, when you go and watch Manchester United, people from all over the continent are there, all over the globe are there. So just think about how many Geordies would want tickets. Easily 70, 80,000, I would have thought, easily. And then, you know, you're going to have people come over from America, from China, from Africa. We're going to need a new stadium eventually, because we can't make it any bigger than 65,000 according to these, or for now. And then maybe if you could, the listings on the East Stand, the problems of that, if you could get that on the Leeds Terrace side of things, you could maybe do it up. But we'll wait and see. What we're talking about today is the short term, yeah? Christopher Lee, who is he? Let us tell you. Let us tell you about Christopher Lee. He was the one that was behind Tottenham Hotspur's brand new stadium, and he designed 30 arenas on 5 continents, including Tottenham Stadium, the Emirates, the Principality in Cardiff, which was the first stadium in the UK with a fully retractable roof. He was the genius behind that. He's currently working on the proposed redevelopment of Old Trafford. So Old Trafford's maybe getting a total refurb in it, and knocked down and knocked back up. And he's designing the new home of AC Milan and Inter Milan, the Cathedral. So he's a busy man. His firm, Populous, Got lots of jobs going at the minute, but a man down that need to get on the bell to him, need to get on the phone to him, get him sorted at St James's Park, because he says he is super excited by Newcastle's owner's wish to one day expand St James's Park. But it seems a difficult task. The Milburn and Sir John Hall stands are at full capacity. The East Stand backs onto the listed Leazes Terrace, and former owner Mike Ashley sold the lease to the land around Strawberry Place, which makes expanding the Gallagher end that much harder. However, encouragingly, the hierarchy want to exhaust every possible avenue to try and find a solution rather than building a new stadium. And that land that Ashley sold on Strawberry Place, I'm sure that firm has now gone bust. So the new owners could offer a nice chunk of money to them who need it, and I'm sure they'll be willing to sell it. He says it's one of the great mythical English stadiums. So he's definitely hoping that the owners see this video and read this article and give him a nice big contract, isn't he? Not daft, but hey, he seems like the right man for the job. Big up Lee. And the Australian believes it would be possible to create a really great world-class stadium to accommodate between 60 to 65,000 supporters with the expansion of St James's Park through his plans. He says that's a sensible aspiration and very achievable on the current site, and there's lots of ways of approaching it. It's a shame though, because going back, St James's Park actually could have been bigger. More than 30 years have now passed since city architect Trevor Skempton liaised with the Magpie Group and carried out a feasible study which looked at either a 40,000 seater or an 80,000 seater stadium could be housed on site. He's found out that the 80,000 could be achieved, but the pitch would have to be moved a few metres sideways away from the Leazes Terrace as part of a phased development. Now, we're seeing pictures about this not long ago with people putting out on social saying if we turned the pitch this way and that way, then it would create more of a capacity and all this stuff. So that's another avenue that we're looking into. However, at the time, given the time and expense involved with such a scheme, Sir John Hall, the club's then owner, opted for a swifter design and built a solution as a £25 million was spent on St James's, turning it into a 36,000 seater stadium at the time, which was sensible, but it didn't reflect Newcastle's sudden rise from First Division title winners to Premier League challengers, and tens of thousands of supporters back then in the 90s were left on the waiting list. So just think now how big a Newcastle is, the population, you know, how the expectation at the club now with the new owners, with the new money. You know, there was people waiting back then for season tickets. It's going to be impossible to get one now. There's going to be tens of thousands of Geordies waiting for one and trying to get into St James's Park on a match day, which is great, but again, need to meet the demand. You know, need to meet the demand. Current capacity 52,405 in 1998, so it's over 20 years now since St James's Park's been added to 52,000 capacity. You think we're selling out every week, don't we? Do you know what I mean? Apart from that odd year under Ashley not so long ago. Even in the Championship though, under Ashley, we're selling out for games at home to Plymouth and that. Skempton, who has an intimate knowledge of this site and is speaking independently of Populace, can see how it can be increased despite complications. So he's saying the expansion of the Gallagher end is possible, unless the leaseholders agree, it may not be able to match the design of the Milburn and Sir John Hall stands, which would require building over Strawberry Place. So the main issue in all of this though is the Leazes Terrace, because it is a grade 1 listed building, so demolition is not an option. We can't just knock it down and build up a nice massive stadium for 100,000. You know, it's not impossible, it's not going to happen. We can't knock that one down. So what needs to happen there is an imaginative solution. Could involve building a higher in multiple tiers and or incorporating Leazes Terrace in a new covered arcade beneath a new stand. To me that sounds like just the East Stand would be separate and then we'd build another stand on top of it. We've seen this somewhere else, I think. I don't think Anfield have done it. They've just increased their capacity upwards, but I've seen a stand before. Was it Villarreal? Somewhere. There's probably a few of them, but across Europe where there's like a little stand and then there's a gap and then there's a bigger stand above that. Probably a similar situation to this, so that could be another option. Sorting out the tiers, or just, you know, a new stand and then the Leazes Terrace being beneath it. Mad. Plenty of possibilities, yeah, which is good because it needs extended. But Lee, at the start of the article, who was saying, you know, he wants a part of this, he's done it all. He was saying, you know, he's worked on tight complex sites before. I mean, just at the Emirates, he's got the railways and everything to deal with, bridges and that. So he knows how to do it. And look at the minute now, Craven Cottage. They're currently on site at Craven Cottage, redeveloping the Riverside stand to almost double it in capacity by essentially building up from the River Thames. I'm buzzing with that, by the way, because I love Fulham. Great away day. Get on the booze cruise. Glad they came up. Glad they got promoted. Looking forward to Fulham away again next year. Looks like a nice new stand, that as well. He sees expansions are complex, but in a way they end up with really interesting solutions and in many ways better solutions because the buildings are very knitted onto a site. As an architect, it's very hard to start with a flat site and a blank sheet of paper and try and take everything you had in St James's and replicate that. You never be able to do that. I think that would be daft if we try to do that. I mean, it looks unreal, St James's Park, if you have it all the way around on some pictures and stuff, but as a new one, maybe you just start off afresh, wouldn't you? Just a brand new design, something completely different, because you know, it's like a remake of Home Alone. It's like remaking things and trying to make them look like the way, or you kind of do it. Leave the originals as the way. Do you know what I mean? Movies, stadiums, cars, whatever. Can't beat the originals, right? Don't try and do it. That's the main thing. Newcastle are on the lookout to expand St James's Park up to 65,000 in the short term. 65,000 seater capacity stadium. They're going to look to extend the Gallagher up and then maybe do something with the stand as well. All depends on Strawberry Place and Lee's Terrace as well. So there's obstacles to overcome, but when you've got a bit of that, I'm sure it'll be sound, and I'm sure it won't be long before we start seeing a bit of work at Newcastle, a bit of work at St James's Park, construction happening, stadium going up. It's going to have to happen. Once they realise in the summer how many season ticket holders are after, you know what I mean, how many people are trying to get season tickets, they'll realise, right, there's the demand, yeah, let's do it. Excellent stuff. And then obviously the bigger the stadium, the more revenue, the more you can back it up with financial fair play, the more you can entice sponsors, the more it just looks better, everything. Do you know what I mean? So exciting times. We've seen the training grounds getting done up. That's going to be a new one in a few years' time. Now we're going to see the stadium getting done up, and the stadium will have work done over the summer as well in terms of just general clean up and work that hasn't been done for ages, painting and stuff like that, you know what I mean? Just make it look smart, maybe new TVs, things like that in the concourse. But seats, expansion, redevelopment, coming soon. Let us know what you think of that news then. Let us know what you think of potentially moving into a new stadium in the future. Will you stay at St James's and just expand it, even if you could only reach 70,000? Or would you rather move into a 90,000, 100,000 seater brand new stadium? Let us know. Subscribe to my channel TV and enjoy yourself.